Oh, all right. Sorry, guys. I'm a little bit late again tonight. Had a work thing I had to take care of. Took me a little bit, but not long. So thanks for being patient and waiting in there for me. And we got a bunch of people in here already. So let's get the disclaimers out of the way. This is a weekly live broadcast. I do this pretty much every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock Central. Sometimes things get in the way. I can't make it. Like tonight, I'm a little bit late. We go till about 8 o'clock Central usually. And then then I sign off and go spend time with my wife and, have dinner and go to bed and get up to ready to do it all over again tomorrow. So let's see. Disclaimers. The only thing I ask from you guys, be family friendly, be polite. Don't be cussing anybody. Don't be calling each other names. Don't be hateful with anybody. We'll kick you out if we have to. We can have differences of opinions. We can still be friends. It's okay. I don't mind a friendly debate. But there's no reason to get hateful about it. No reason to call anybody names or any of those kinds of things. Let's see. What else? That's about it. I just do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. I don't have a topic planned out. So let's get into it. We got, my goodness, we got a lot of people in here chatting already. Let's see if we can get through this list here. Christy, good to see you. Oh, Crystal, good to see you. Says my rabbit had babies. Oh, my rabbit that had babies, I think it is. When do I separate her male baby? When do you separate? Okay, so when you want to know when you're going to separate the males from the females in your babies. As long as you do that before they're 12 weeks old, roughly, it's going to be fine. Don't separate them from the mother before they're about 6 weeks old at least. You can go 8 weeks if you want to. That's fine, but don't do it any earlier than 6 weeks. And if you want to separate the males from the females at that point, you can do it at that point, or you can leave them together for another couple of weeks. If you're going to let them grow out longer in about 12 weeks, go ahead and separate them by the time they get to 12 weeks old. Hopefully that answers that one for you. Ed got bait. Says my quail had their first egg on my birthday, July 18th. Well, happy birthday. We missed it, but happy birthday anyway. And yeah, nice gift and good timing. Absolutely. Congratulations. Glad to hear that they're laying. So, New Mexico Dust Bunnies. Hey, Chris, hope you're doing great. I'm happy to catch you live again. Thanks for joining. I'm happy you're here too. Jim Boy. Hey, Chris, I've been busy and haven't had much time to watch. Hopefully all is well with you and your family. Yeah, things are going pretty well. I'm out of quarantine tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. I think I'm technically off quarantine tomorrow, but I'm still working from home. If you didn't know I had COVID, it wasn't that bad. It was a pretty mild infection or pretty mild case of it. Which luckily it was fairly mild. I still don't have my sense of smell back completely, but it's starting to come back. I'm starting to be able to smell a few things, but not much. I'll be happy when it does come back. Food will sure taste a lot better because everything's a little bit bland right now. But anyway, that's where we're at. Everything's going pretty well. Good evening to you, Verna. Good to see you. New Mexico Dust Bunny says, anyone have any good references for learning about line breeding? I want to create a pure line of my Rex. Wow, that's a good question. I don't know that I'm the expert on line breeding. Line breeding is the act of breeding back like the mother to the son to the mother or the daughter to the father. You don't want to breed the siblings together, but you can breed back to their parents. Now, I'm sure there's some pretty good resources out there for you. I don't know exactly where to point you on that one, how to do it exactly. I would Google, just Google it, line breeding rabbits, and see what you can find. Look for maybe something from an extension, a county extension office, or something like that. And there should be some good information on that. I'm sure it's going to be fairly easy to find. I just haven't looked into it that deeply. Grab a drink here. All right. I'm sorry I can't give you more specifics on that one. Backyard Shenanigans says, can't wait. I missed the last 2 weeks, but didn't forget today. Well, thanks for joining today. I appreciate it. Renee, hey, Chris, had to butcher my first rabbit in years yesterday. He broke his leg falling out of the front of his cage. I didn't have the butcher area set up or proper equipment. I will never try to skin. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's one thing having to process a rabbit, but it's another thing having to do it because of an injury of something like that. At least you were able to bring yourself to do that. A lot of people, just can't do that, and they'll let the animal just suffer. So it's best to put them down, put them out of their misery. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, though. Val's thinking about getting geese, maybe pilgrim geese. Well, I don't know. Geese could be pretty aggressive. That was the only thing I would be worried about with geese. But hey, if you're thinking about Go ahead. Go for it if you want to get some geese. Bobby, you made it. Good to see you. Renee says, Verna Young, thanks. It just goes to show me to buy all the proper tools you need to send an animal to freezer camp before you buy the animals. This is my second litter this year, but I sold the first. Yeah, that's a good advice, actually. Have everything prepared before you need it, because you never know when you're going to need it, and you're going to need it immediately. So, Katrina, hello to you. Says hi from Gilroy, California. Hope you're feeling better. Yeah, I actually never felt all that bad. A little worn out for a couple of days, some low energy. Lost my sense of smell about midweek last week after I was already over the fever, over everything, it seemed like. Lost my sense of smell. It's not completely back yet, but could be a lot worse, that's for sure. All right, where are we at here? Katrina, I was already read that one, didn't I? Verna, be prepared or crapola happens. Yep, absolutely. Todd, good evening from Georgia. Good to see you, Todd. Backyard shenanigans. Hey, Chris, you sound healthier than the last live. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, actually. I think I'm pretty much over. Well, I am over it. I'm sure of that. Like I said, still working on getting the sense of smell back. It's weird. Some things I can kind of smell, but not really. Like the mint outside, the dill outside. Those are pretty strong smells. Crush those leaves and I sniff them, and it's like I can almost smell it, just a hint of it. So I think it's coming back, but not back yet. Katrina says, I have some exciting news. I have a broody quail, letting them have 8 eggs marked with a Sharpie. Started with 1, then another female was sharing the brooding, and now it appears all 4 females are incubating. Awesome. I'm curious to see how that goes. Good luck with that. I hope it works out. Hello to you, Johnny. He says, how you doing? I've already covered. I'm doing pretty good, but thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Renee wants to know from Verna, are you quite big enough to dispatch as, Verna Young aren't quite big enough to dispatch, so I figured I had time to get my stuff. They were born May 25th. Yeah, okay. So we're talking about the rabbit that broke its leg. Yeah, it's good to have everything on hand before you do need it. That's fantastic advice. Katrina, plus they're chasing the mail away. Yeah, for teamwork. Yay for teamwork. Chasing the mail away. The broody quail are chasing the mail away. Yeah, it makes sense. Helen from Brisbane, Australia, 10:15 a.m. here. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate that. And Christina from Nicaragua. Yeah, man, we got people from all over the place. Thank you for joining, Christina. We're Backyard Shenanigans from Kent Bridge, Ontario. And we got somebody else from Australia, Mr. O'Daly from Australia. Australia is a place I'd always like to visit. I don't know if I'll ever make it there, but it is one of those interesting places I would like to see. Verna says, hit the thumbs up, everybody. Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. It does help out. It does give me, better rankings or something, so people will watch. But thank you very much for that reminder, Verna. Sparkman from South Dakota. That's another place I've never been. I haven't been to South Dakota. All right, Renee says, at 8 weeks old, my rabbits are trying to mate and fight. I will be separating them at 6 to 7 weeks. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with separating them at 6 to 7 weeks. Sometimes they do start to get a little rambunctious a little bit earlier. They're really too young probably to be doing anything. It's probably nothing to worry about. It's just, squabbles and that kind of stuff, and they're going to get over it. But if you want to separate them at 6 to 7 weeks, do it. Nothing wrong with that either. Katrina says, if my quail hatch their eggs, will be a few days younger than the ones in the incubator right now. Anyone have this situation? How does integration work with existing babies with mamas and the aviary? Well, I haven't had any quail get broody and hatch their own eggs, but I wouldn't worry about the babies in the aviary with them. I think they're going to be just fine. I have moved babies as young as 2 weeks old into my hutch with all my existing adult birds and never had a problem with it. Look at that. There's a $4.99 super chat. So let me finish this one. We'll get right to you. So anyway, I wouldn't worry about the babies. I think they're going to be fine with the adult birds. My experience, the adult birds pay very little attention to the babies. It's never been an issue. All right, let's get to this super chat. $4.99 for Bobby Warren says, thank you for the questions you answered for me in the past, and I enjoy seeing you help out others. Well, thank you, Bobby, for the super chat there. I appreciate that, and I'm glad I could help. All right. Hey, my Shire's here. Says, hey, Chris, can't stay. I am nowhere near done in the barn, but wanted to say hi. I can't wait to meet you at QuailCon. P.S. Hey, Verna. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I need to get a hold of you. I'll do that here sometime soon. He goes on to say, don't get geese. I hate ours. Really aggressive. Yeah, geese are aggressive. I know. I had a time one time when I had my son. He was young at the time, probably maybe 7 years old, 8 years old, something like that. And I took him out to a pond. It's when we lived in Texas. I took him out to a pond to go fishing. They stock the pond every year and stock it with trout. And trout, can't live very long there. So always try to fish them out of there. So anyway, we went out there. We were fishing, and this goose comes up, and it's just walking up to us, waddling up to us, like it's just hanging out. And my son starts to walk towards it and reach his hand out. I'm like, no, don't do it. It's too late, man. That thing reached over and bit him right on the inside of the leg. And needless to say, we were done fishing. He was done. But anyway, funny memory. So anyway, I do need to get a hold of you, Zach. I need to get those tickets that I gave away to the QuailCon purchased and get them to those 8. I'll get a hold of you later on that, though. All right, Todd. Evening, Chris and Verna. Good evening to you, Todd. And hello to you, Kenneth. This Crystal says, do you know the best way to desensitize my horses? No, I'm not a horse expert at all. I've been around horses, but not a lot. Horses are pretty intelligent. So let's see. I don't know. I don't know the trick. I mean, bring them treats, I guess. Talk to them a lot. Try to be calm when you're around them because they'll sense that off of you. I don't know. I'm not a horse expert. What we got here? I got a couple people talking to each other. I'll let you. Val says, have you watched Gold Shaw Farm? What do you think about them? I don't think I have. Is that a YouTube channel? I'm assuming. Let me look them up real quick. Gold Shaw Farm. I don't think I have seen them. No, they don't look familiar to me. I may have to look into it. So I can't give you an opinion. I don't know. Johnny says, how many rabbits do you start with? Well, a breeding trio or a breeding, pair is not a bad way to start. It depends on, if you're all set up and you've got all your cages set up, you're ready for the babies to come, you can start with two does and a buck. That's probably a pretty good starting way to start. It's not too overwhelming. It's not too much to manage. You'll be able to spread your litters out. You won't have to have them both at the same time, but you won't have to wait for one to get fully weaned before you have another litter. So that's why it's nice to have kind of two does. But if you just want to start with one of each, a buck and a doe, there's nothing wrong with that either. You can always add another doe in later on, and it gives you a chance to kind of get the hang of it, get a litter down, kind of get some experience with it all before you get too many going on. I can't really answer exactly that. That's going to be your personal situation is going to dictate a lot of that. How much time do you have? How serious are you about it? Are you just feeling like, you want to test it out and see how it works? I wouldn't go much bigger than that, though, until you get a feel for it and get some experience, because otherwise it can get very overwhelming very quickly, and then you're stuck with a bunch of rabbits. What do I do with them, So hopefully that gives you an idea, though. All right, Kenneth says, is eating quail meat better than chicken meat? What do you mean better, like better taste or better for you? I don't know that it's any better for you. It's probably not, I don't think it's any worse for you. It's probably about the same, I would say. A lot of that depends on what you're feeding them and their diets and all those kinds of things as well, I think. As far as the taste goes, that's going to be a personal taste kind of thing. So quail is a lot like dark meat chicken. So if you're a dark meat chicken fan, you'll probably like quail. Most everybody I know likes quail. I haven't really fed it to anybody that said, oh, that's bad, I don't like it. I always hesitate to say this because it does seem kind of odd to, I think, people, but it does have a kind of a minerally kind of flavor to it, kind of like liver. It's not like strong liver flavor, but it is similar to that. So if you're someone that doesn't like liver, don't stress about that. Like I said, everybody I've fed quail to seems to like it. I haven't had anybody say they didn't like it. And a lot of those people think they don't like liver anyway. They say they don't. But it does have that kind of hint of that minerally kind of earthy kind of flavor to it, I think. So, it's a personal taste thing. I don't know if that answers the question for you. whether, which do I like better? I don't know that I like either one much better than the other one. There are certain things that, I like about chicken. Chicken does tend to have a little bit more fat on it, be a little bit juicier, be a little bit, it's just, in ways it's good. Quail is very, very lean, so it doesn't have a whole lot of fat and it can dry out pretty easily. But it does have a lot more flavor too. So it's, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. All right. Oh boy, you're going to ask me weight on eggs. What's a good weight on eggs for jumbos? Oh man. Is Zach still in here? Because he could probably answer that. I don't weigh my eggs all that often. What is a jumbo? Let me do a quick here. Let me see. Let's see what they say. 12 to 16 grams. Yeah, 12 to 16 gram eggs. So that's probably about right. I was gonna say somewhere around 11 grams. So that's about right. Yeah, probably 12 to 14. Somewhere right around in there is probably a good weight for them. I don't really weigh my eggs, so it's always hard for me to remember that. So Charles says done. I don't know what that means. Done, but good, I guess. I'm not sure what you're done with. Renee says geese are territorial, not aggressive. Raise the geese with chicks, and they will be easier to deal with than the chickens. I could feed mine in my lap and my hand. Took eggs from under her with her nesting. Well, that's interesting. Let's see what we got here. To my sharp farm, mostly about if you get them used to you at a young age. Oh, talking about geese again. Get them used to you at a young age, and they'll do better. Kenneth wants to know if Verna raises quail in her house. And Edward says, I've been to Australia, definitely a 2-week trip. Yeah, I think it would be an interesting place to visit. A couple of places I've always wanted to visit. Australia's one of them. And yes, Verna does raise quail inside her apartment. Okay, Australia is one of those places I'd like to visit. Galapagos Islands, I think, would be a cool place to visit. There's no predators there, so you can just, the animals don't have really a fear of people or anything like that. It's kind of neat, or it would be kind of neat, I think. I've never been there. Anyway, there's a couple of places I would like to visit. Backyard Shenanigans says, do you have any advice for the first time hatching eggs? Got my incubator last week, and we are on day 4 or 5. Yeah, don't get too anxious about it. I've got a whole series on hatching eggs, so you can go back and watch that whole entire series for all the tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. But don't get too anxious about it. Try not to pester the eggs too much. Don't over stress about your humidity level. Temperature is more important than humidity, so you don't want to be opening that lid all the time and letting the temperature, fluctuate. Make sure you have your incubator in a place where it's not gonna, don't put it in front of a window where the sun beats through it half the day and heat your incubator up. Don't put it over an air conditioner vent where, the air conditioner is going to be blowing on that incubator and the temperature is going to be fluctuating. If you can keep it in a room that's fairly stable temperature-wise, then you're going to have much better luck with that. And don't get overly anxious when your first egg hatches to just dive in there and get it out of there. Give it some time. They can go up to 3 days before you need to remove them from the incubator. I usually go about 24 to maybe 48 hours, something like that. But give a chance for as many of them that are going to hatch and dry out before you open it up and remove them. And don't just give up on those eggs, that haven't hatched yet. At that point, it's a good idea to have some water available, warm water, so you don't cool your incubator off, because you're probably going to need to add some water to it at that point. So you open it up, you get all the ones that have hatched out, you add a little bit of water and close it back up, and you'll probably get more birds that will hatch in the next couple of days. So those are just some quick rundown tips. Hopefully that works, and good luck with your hatching. I hope it goes well. Renee says, my goose rode my horse with me, sat behind the saddle, never had a problem with anyone trying to take my horse while I was swimming. LOL. Yeah, that's pretty neat. That a guard goose, I imagine that would keep people away. Kenneth wants to know from Verna how big the quail cage is. Disc Farmer, I think it is, says, I've built up my aviary, quail, pea chicks, silliest, fizzles, pigeons, homers, and the ringneck dove. I'm saving to set up a pet cam inside the aviary for a live feed watching them grow. That sounds pretty interesting, actually. All that stuff Silkies. Okay, that makes more sense. I wasn't sure what silliest were. But that's a typo apparently. Interesting. Yeah, I actually toyed with the idea of getting some homing pigeons at one time because I just think it's the coolest thing. You take those birds out and let them go and they fly back to their, I just think that's the coolest thing. And I thought, my sister, maybe we could set up something there and I could set up something here and we could have them go back and forth between the two houses and send notes to her kids and, my niece and nephew. But I never did it. There's every once in a while somebody puts up some for sale and I kind of play with the idea again, but I don't know. Maybe I will someday. Maybe I won't. It'd just be a totally fun thing to do, I think. All right, Renee says, watch Cog Hill Farms. All their geese are tame, though noisy. He calls them the alarm system. Well, that makes sense. I'll have to check them out. All right, my Shire sounds good. Get with me anytime. I appreciate it, Zach. Thanks. I haven't been very communicative with you lately, but I'll get better at it. We'll get there. Don't feel bad. I'm not communicating with a whole lot of people. I've just been busy and too many things going on. Charles says desensitized tie near tree. I don't know what that means exactly. If you're talking about the horses, maybe. I'm not sure. Verna says, I have 2 Wynola ranch cages, a 3-tier and a single tier. So pretty decent sized cages. I think those are the battery style cages, aren't they? Where they're like this tall and wide. I can't remember exactly what they look like, but I do vaguely remember them. All right. Kelly says, do you need heat in the winter for your quail if it gets negatives? No, I don't give my quail any heat, and it gets down below 0 pretty regularly. And T-Disc Farmer is saying to Kelly, says, mine did great during the Texas snow apocalypse. Well, to be fair, I mean, if, and I appreciate that, Disc Farmer. I'm not making fun of you, but to be fair, your Texas snow is probably not the same as, everybody else's. We get down below 0 pretty regularly with or without snow. And in the wintertime, not in the summer, of course. I've never provided heat for my quail. They do just fine. Give them a way to get out of the wind. Make sure they have they can get out of the weather, stay out of the wind. They'll be fine. The hardest part about that is really just water, because you got to bring water. It freezes. You got to bring fresh water out to them a couple of times a day. But they're fine. All right. Kenneth wants to know from Verna how you clean the poop. Probably just emptying the trays underneath them, every day, probably every other day. I'm guessing. We'll see what she says. Twice a week. That's what she says. They use poop trays, clean it out twice a week. And Val says, Charles says, I see horses tied to trees to get accustomed to cars driving by. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So, well, I guess that makes sense. Val says, I remember when you had 6,000 subs. Yeah, that's been a while, hasn't it? Thanks for hanging out with me all this time. I know you're starting to see some repeat comment or content coming up, and I appreciate you watching it. Disc Farmer says 0 deaths during the crazy freeze we had. Where are we at here? Yeah, I've not had any problems with cold either. They do fine. Oh, Renee says, for horses, it's easy. Take one of your sweaty shirts and wrap it over their eyes. They get used to your smell, and in order to move, they have to learn to trust you. It might not hurt for you to have an overshirt that you've rubbed them down with. Well, there you go. That's a good exception, or good advice as well. Thank you. Verna says, except it is a lean red meat. In my opinion, it tastes better. By the way, I hate liver. Don't taste like liver to me. Yeah, it just has it's not a strong liver flavor, but it has a similar, that minerally earthy kind of flavor that liver has as well. Maybe it doesn't taste like liver. It's just, they both have similar qualities to them. I like liver quite a bit. So maybe I'm just the weirdo. I don't know. Tito's Farmer says quail tastes like drumsticks that are cooked correctly and like really good drumsticks. Well, there you go. Darren says, let's see. I have a very good question. I'm not sure if I should judge it, if it's a very good question or not. We'll just assume it is. Let's see what it is. I have my baby chickens with my adult quail. They take care of them like they're their own. Is that okay? Well, it seems to be okay. If it's working, it's working. I would be a little concerned when the chickens get bigger that they might try to eat the quail, because chickens will eat just about anything smaller than them. But if they're not having any problems, then it seems to be working fine. There are some concerns about diseases that chickens can be carrier of that can affect quail. I don't know how big of a risk that is, though, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But yeah, if it's working out, it's working out. Crystal says, and do I have to give my baby bunnies a special food? No, you don't have to give them. No, they're going to be fine. They'll start eating, at 12 days old or so, somewhere right around in there probably. They'll start nibbling on mom's food. Whatever you're feeding mom, they'll start nibbling on. And it's perfectly normal. It's fine. You don't have to give them anything special. When they're ready, they'll just start eating that food, and eventually they'll be ready to wean. About 6 weeks old, something like that. Verna says, I only weigh the oversized ones. LOL. Had a 24-gram egg. Wow, that's a big egg, isn't it? Katrina says, I think you did a video comparing egg weights of your two varieties of quail. I did, but that was like several years ago. I don't remember the specifics I came up with. But yes, I did do a video on that. Yeah, it's I don't remember what I called it even. But yeah, if you look back through my channel for egg weight or something, you'll probably find it. But yeah, that was a long time ago. Oh, Charles was saying done for hitting the like button. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. I'm sorry I'm a little dense sometimes, and there's a long time between when I say something to, when you guys respond to it and I actually get to that comment. So it's disconnected for me sometimes. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for hitting the like button. I appreciate it. Katrina says, oh, I already read that one. Let's see. Disc Farmer, I'd love to raise inside, but I can't get the rest of my family on board with it. So we keep them in the aviary and reinforced rabbit cages. Yeah, I'm not, I did keep them in the garage for a little while, and that was all right. That wasn't bad, actually. I did my homemade, stacking cages, and it worked out just fine. But I just got tired of emptying, poop trays. And it was a little bit of work doing that. I work a full-time job. I'm pretty busy, and I'm not saying nobody else is. Maybe I'm just a little lazy. So I just got tired of doing that. So, I'm sorry, I got distracted by another comment. So I eventually just moved them outside, and it's a lot easier on me. I clean up under the quail hutch about once a year, maybe. Sometimes I let it go a year and a half before I clean up. It just depends on how good of a job the black soldier fly larva is doing in the summertime. This year I haven't seen them around, but they've got to be there because I haven't really looked in deep, like turned stuff over to see if they're there, because it's keeping it under control for the most part. But all right. Charles says, don't use newspaper on new babies. And that's the comment that distracted me because it took me a minute to figure out what you were talking about. I was thinking, when I hear don't use newspaper on babies, I'm thinking like rolled up newspaper, you're beating something with it. But I think what you're talking about is like for the flooring of your brooder box. Yeah, that's a bad idea. You're right. Don't use newspaper. It's slick, and it can lead to things like splayed leg, feet problems, those kinds of things, because the birds can't get traction on it. Paper towels are okay. I use paper towels most of the time. But you really want to stay away from newspaper. And I would stay away from things like, I don't like the idea of wood shavings or sand or any of that kind of stuff for young babies. I think that, there's just, they can really, they start pecking at everything, and there's a good chance they're going to ingest a lot of that stuff, and it may not be good for them. So I find that paper towels, at least for the first week, really works pretty well. All right. Kenneth wants to know from Verna, what do you eat? What do you eat quail meat for? Okay. What do you eat quail meat for? I don't know if, yeah, she's saying, what do you mean? Do you mean, why do I eat quail? The same reason I eat any meat. At least I know it has a good, yep, that's a good answer. Yeah. Christina says, I agree with Renee Brown on geese. They can be great. It probably depends a little bit on what type of geese you get too. But who knows? Renee says, is it normal for a rabbit to have fairly extensive fat layer between the tummy and the ribs? Oh, there's another 500 yen super chat from Crafty Lulu. Give me a second, Crafty Lulu. We'll get to you. And thank you for the super chat. You give super chats like every week. I appreciate that. Renee says, is it normal for a rabbit to have a fairly extensive fat layer between the tummy and the ribs and along the top of the spine? Seems awful young to have that much fat, less than 8 weeks old. I wouldn't say it's incredibly abnormal for them to have that. They do have a lot of, and when you say on the top of the spine, I assume you mean on the inside. That's where a lot of the fat does tend to gather, right around the kidneys, that area. Now, if it's a whole lot of fat, well, who knows? It could be a rabbit with a disorder of some kind. It's not necessarily anything to worry about. You've obviously already dispatched the rabbit, so from that standpoint, it's nothing to really worry about that much. So, oh, my wife is texting me; she's on her way home. Let me send her a message real quick. All right. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it though. It's not that big of a deal. So let's get down here to Crafty Lulu and see what she says. Says, hi, I put all my 4 quails in the house. They can't tolerate the heat outside, even in the shade. They're panting. Yeah, the heat is harder on them for sure. I do find that mine, they do fine. They acclimate to the heat. They do okay as long as they have plenty of water and are in the shade. But you know what? I don't know where you're located. I can't remember, is it Chinese yen or Japanese yen if you're in Japan or China or one of those places? I don't remember, but I know I know your climate's probably pretty hot and humid, and that can definitely take a toll on your animals. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with putting them inside if you want to. All right. Charles says, throws her hips out, talking about the newspaper. Yeah, it absolutely can be bad for sure. Disc Farmer, I have a good, whoa, I missed it. There it is. Oh, I have a unicorn. I got a broody quail hen as of 2 days ago. I'm so excited. I have to let her try. Absolutely. Congratulations on that, by the way. That's pretty rare. But apparently you're not the only one. Somebody else in here was talking a minute ago about a broody quail. Actually, several of them that were sitting on the eggs together. So Mr. O'Daly says, my brooder failed, and I keep the quail chicks in the incubator for about 2 weeks. All good. I kept them in the incubator for about 2 weeks. All good. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that your brooder failed. But, yeah, I guess there's no reason that, sure, as long as you can give them food and water, no reason you can't keep them in the incubator for a while. So very clever. Good job. Oh, Kenneth wants to know from Verna, do you eat the quail or eggs or the meat? I'm betting both. Yep, she says both. I don't buy chicken anymore or anything anymore. Yeah, we don't buy a ton of, we don't buy chicken because we raised chickens. So we have chickens in the freezer. We eat the quail, some rabbit. We do buy beef. I didn't get a deer this year during deer season. So we do buy beef occasionally and pork sometimes. Pork loins mostly are what we buy. I'm not a huge pork fan. I like bacon. I like sausage. I like those a lot. But as far as like pork chops, I don't really care for pork chops all that much. But I do like those pork loins, especially the ones, the mesquite seasoned ones. I think they're Smithfield or something like that. Those are pretty good. So we buy those from time to time. Yep. The cage you have, Verna, you said, yeah, I think it's 10-inch tall and about 36 inches wide. That makes sense. Crystal says, I have to go put my bunnies away. Thank you for doing the live. Well, thank you for joining the live. I appreciate it. Kenneth says, quail, he's talking to Verna again, is quail healthier than chicken? You probably have to. Oh, yeah. Verna says yes. Type it into Google, the difference between quail and chicken, and you'll see. I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't say one way or the other. I think probably, if you raise your own food, I don't know that one is much healthier than the other. Home-raised quail is probably healthier than store-bought chicken, I would say. That reminds me of something. Have you seen, I think it's Purdue commercials. Purdue commercials are really, they're kind of out there. There for a while, they were advertising that they had free-range vegetarian chickens. That is totally impossible. There's no way you can have a free-range vegetarian chicken. They're going to eat every bug, every mouse, everything like that comes along. They're going to eat it because they're a chicken. That's what they do. The other thing that they've been advertising lately is they've got this commercial where they're like at a state fair or something like that. And it's not Purdue. They're supposed to be somebody else. It's a Purdue commercial, but they're talking about how most chickens are fed animal byproducts. And they got these jars of like animal blood and stuff like that. And it's a little over the top, kind of gross, but people are like, oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. And then why don't you go on down to the Purdue boy? Those are the things that chickens eat. Chickens eat blood and guts and other animals. And they're omnivores. That's what they do. It just cracks me up. I'm a little bit off on a tangent there, but anyway. Renee says, I've been looking for tumbling pigeons for years. As a kid, my babysitter had some. They were more fun than watching the Blue Angels air show. Aerial aerobatics are awesome. Yeah, I even watched a few people on homing pigeons, and I don't know if tumbling pigeons are different than homing pigeons. I don't know. I'm not an expert on any of that stuff. I don't know a lot about it. But I did, when I kind of toyed with the idea of getting homing pigeons, I watched some channels on, homing pigeons, and they looked awful cool. I thought they were pretty neat. All right. Where we at here? Disc Farmer says, at Renee, pigeons have been hard to find in my area. I'm at 2 at the moment, but just got another local connection and hoping to expand rapidly. Awesome. Owen, good to see you. I'm doing well. Thank you. Darren says, let's see, I want to thank you so much. You gave me a lot of info on my birds. I watch your videos every day. I'm actually from the Caribbean. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean? I never know exactly how to say that. From Belize. And you inspired me to start raising them. I visited Belize before. I thought it was awesome. I wouldn't mind going and just spending a week in Belize. I thought it was pretty cool. When I was there, we were on a cruise. So it was like a day excursion in Belize. The best thing about it, I think, was that they, English is the native language there. So that was cool. I could speak to everybody. Oh, we went on a excursion and went to this howler monkey sanctuary, which was like out in the middle of nowhere. And these farmers had all come together and agreed to leave like so much of their land on the edges of their fields not cultivated. They didn't plow it all the way to the edge of their property. They left a section. So in between all these fields were these pretty wide sections of rainforest, basically jungle. I don't know if it was rainforest, but jungle. And that's where all the howler monkeys lived. And these people had been studying them so long. They were as close as, I am to the camera. You could just reach out and touch them. It was crazy. It was pretty wild. That was a long time ago, but it was fun. I wouldn't mind going back. Anyway, I am glad, Darren, that you are finding things helpful. And thank you for watching the videos. Renee says, I still have 6 litter mates of dispatched bunnies growing out. Oh, dispatched? They're dispatched already? I think they're probably not dispatched already. But hey, that's awesome. 6. Look at that. There's a $5 super chat. It says another donation for the Blue Eddy Solar Generator Fund to run your incubator. Well, thank you very much. Law of the minimum. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm going to have to, here, let me put a note of that. I got to look that up. Blue, how do you spell that? I forgot. Blue, where did it go? Blue Eddy. There we go. Blue Eddy. I'm so bad at spelling. That's not what I want. Blue Eddy Solar Generator. There we go. I'll take a look at that later. There we go. Thank you very much, Law of the Minimum. I appreciate that. Who knows? Maybe I will get one at one point. I've got solar on the house. I do run solar here, but it's all hooked into the grid. It's not a standalone system. All right, Verna says, panting quail is just like when dog pants. They're cooling themselves down. Just make sure they have plenty of water, and you can put frozen bottles in the cage to cool them off. That is good advice. You can. You're right. They will probably be just fine. But if you feel more comfortable bringing them in the house, making them more comfortable, then so be it. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. This farmer says, try a plug-in quail. He's talking to Crafty. Try a plug-in fan on the quail. I have one in our area I run during the sun. Yeah, that's not a bad advice at all. Don't have it where it blows directly on the birds all the time. Have it just where it circulates air, like blows over the top of the hutch maybe and circulates air around. That'll help quite a bit. Chris, Derry Rose Elrod. Good evening from Arkansas. I'm a little late. How are you tonight? I'm doing well, thank you. And thanks for joining us. Doesn't matter if you're late or not. Hello to you, Witch Doctor from Las Vegas. I have been to Las Vegas, through the airport anyway. Not my ideal place, really. I'm not a gambler, so I'm not. Las Vegas is not my idea of a great time. But hey, it was cool. It was went through the airport anyway. Edward says, I have 8 female quail, but only get 7 each day since they start laying. Can one be defective, or is it not laying? Chances are it is. It's probably just not laying necessarily every day. You probably got a couple of birds that they're not necessarily laying every single day. So you're just getting 7 eggs a day. Now, chances are they'll catch up. You'll get 8. You might even get 9 eggs in one day. But you know, that's not unusual at all. I wouldn't worry about it. It's probably nothing to worry about. All right. What I will say is that, you know, my egg production is starting to slow down just a little bit. So if you're, you know, I don't know where you live exactly, but in this part of the country, the world, you know, the days are already starting to get just a little bit shorter. And if you want to really ensure you're getting good egg production, add a light and extend that daylight just a little bit. Right now, you only need to extend it probably about an hour a day. But, you know, as the days get shorter, you'll need to extend it longer to keep them laying. Tanya says, hey, Chris, I've been watching you a while now, and I got quail because of you. Thank you for all the information. I never would have had quail, but found you, and now I'm having a blast with them. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Tanya. Thank you for all the kind comments. I appreciate you watching the videos, and I'm glad you're finding them helpful. All right, where are we at here? Psycho Ward, that's what it is. Psycho Ward from Las Vegas. Somebody else from Las Vegas. Disc Farmer says, hello, Las Vegas. I was there just before COVID, had a blast. I know lots of people that love Vegas. And I know there's other things to do there besides, you know, gamble. I guess if I was going to go to that area, I would really want to go to it. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing, you know, what, like, you know, the Grand Canyon, Moab, you know, some of those, which is, I know, not exactly right there, but you get what I'm saying. I wouldn't mind seeing some of those kinds of areas. I'm just not personally a gambler. And the whole Las Vegas scene is just kind of a little, it's just not my deal. It's just not my thing. So I did spend, you know, a week up in Tahoe, which is outside of Reno, I believe, Nevada. Isn't it? Yeah, Reno. Anyway, that's when I was through the airport at Vegas. And that was a really nice place. That was pretty cool. I liked that quite a bit. All right. Law of the Minimum says, any concerns about feed shortages due to the lack of grains? Not so far. I think everything seems to be going okay. We're going to see. We're going to see how it goes. I know we got another round of, you know, COVID starting to make a comeback, and, you know, who knows? It could get crazy again. But we'll see. Edward says, it's been about 2 months since they started laying. What were we talking about? 8. Okay. Yeah, again, don't worry about it. It's normal. You're not necessarily going to get an egg from every bird every single day. If you really, like I said, if you really want to add some light, extend your daylight by about an hour, that will help encourage them to make sure that they lay pretty regularly. But it's nothing to worry about. All right. Tellus says, what kind of quail breed hatches the largest eggs? The jumbo quail do. It's, you know, jumbo meat makers, jumbo farrows. I think jumbo farrows are supposed to have the largest eggs. I don't know if that's absolutely true or not. But your jumbo birds are definitely going to lay bigger eggs than your standard size birds do. There's several different kinds of jumbo birds. I don't know that there's a huge difference between their egg size, honestly. And when you're talking in grams, I mean, what's the difference between 13 grams and 15 grams? It's not a huge difference. So, you know, it's, you know, I always suggest get jumbo farrow or jumbo meat maker. I honestly can't tell the difference between them because there's just super easy to deal with, in my opinion. They're less aggressive than a lot of the other breeds, so to speak. And they, you know, you can just look at them and tell that's a rooster, that's a hen, just by looking at them. So it makes it a lot easier to deal with. That's my suggestion. All right. Yeah, Verna's saying the same thing to you, Edward. Every hen may not lay every day. Sometimes you'll find more than 8, sometimes less than 7. Yep. Yeah, Law of the Minimum says, yeah, my chickens are cannibals. Yeah, for sure. Chickens are aggressive. It's a good thing they don't get huge. They'd be scary. Look at that. Kenneth Verna says, you're not far from I didn't realize you were that close to my shire, Southwest Ohio. Disc Farmer says, it was. He had a daytime family vacation there. And I got to play disc golf at the Sunset Disc Golf Course not far from the Strip. And it was amazing disc golf course. Okay, awesome. Glad you had a good time. And Kenneth is in Bowman, North Dakota, I think that is. Disc Farmer is just west of Fort Worth, Texas. I've been there. Let's see. I'm human fish. There we go. Renee, I fed my quail large fly larvae that developed in their poo. I used a litter scooper and washed them off and then fed them to them. Saved a lot on food. Food run through twice. Yeah, absolutely. They love that kind of stuff. Sure, they're little carnivores as well. Edward in Northeast Ohio. Doug, any recommendations on egg layer feed for quail? What are your requirements for a good laying feed? Vernus, I do it a little differently apparently. Vernus says I use layer Tina, I think it is 16% layer feed. I feed all my birds a 28 to 30% game bird starter. That's why I feed them when they're first born, and I feed them that all the way. I mean, that's all I feed. That's it, everything. And I get pretty good egg production out of them. So, that works well for me. I find the higher protein does pretty good, but there's lots of people that do switch over to a lower protein feed, like a layer feed, when they start laying, and it works well for them. So either one's going to be fine. All right, where are we at here? Bad News Monk says, hello, I'm new to keeping quail, and today I found a lavender egg. Is that normal or common? Well, it depends. What you're talking about there, if it's a completely blue egg, there's a chance that it's a celadon egg. Celadon is a gene that's carried by the birds that make them lay blue eggs. And if it is, then you're going to get that same color egg from that bird every single time they lay an egg. Sometimes you do get a little bit kind of weird colored eggs, slightly bluish eggs from your regular birds. It's not uncommon, but it's not really common either. All right. This farmer says the Grand Canyon is life-changing. You have to. Yeah, I would love to go. I'd love to go see that. Maybe this year on vacation, we're going to Destin, Florida. So my sister, her family, me, my wife, a whole bunch of our family all kind of getting together, mixed families from, my sister's husband's family, as well as this side of her family, me, my cousin, a couple. Anyway, long story short, we're going to Destin, Florida. We're going to spend a week down there, the week of September 12th, I think it is. So that's where we're going this year. Edward says, I've been to Vegas. It is one place to see X-rated litter. Yeah, I bet it is. X-rated litter doesn't really interest me, though. Bad news. Okay, well, Vern is saying to Bad News that is the extra bloom. Did you touch the egg and find it wasn't smooth like the others? Well, it could be. Could be that for sure. Disc Farmer says feed prices have gone up on average like $2 to $3 per 50-pound bag here in Texas. They have here too. I've noticed that as well. Unfortunate, but it is, it is what it is. What do you do, right? How are we doing on time? Oh my gosh, we're out of time. Let me get through see how quick I can get through the rest of these comments, and then I'll be wrapping this up for tonight. Man, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? All right, Psycho Ward says, yeah, we're not gambling people and actually thinking of moving to Tennessee. Yeah, well, I imagine Tennessee's a pretty nice place to live. I haven't actually been there, so I don't know. Renee says, my quail pins are raised, and I keep these under the cages to catch the poo. My bananas love it. And keep totes under them, and you use that to fertilize your banana. Okay, that makes sense. Awesome. This farmer says, you're lucky. I need to order me a female or a feed from the U.S. I pay an arm and a leg to get them in my country. Oh, yeah, I can imagine that would be tough. All right, a couple people talking to each other. I'll let you guys do that so I can get through the rest of these comments before I sign off for tonight. Grim Reaper, will you be coming to the Missouri State Fair this year? Do you ever have a setup there at the Ag Building? I've never been to the fair. I've been to the fair, but I don't set up there. I don't do anything there. No, I don't know. I've seen advertisements for it. Is it held in, where's it held? Is it in Sedalia? Is that the Missouri State Fair? Or is it being held in Springfield this year? I don't remember. If it's Springfield, who knows? I might make it up there. I think it's coming up pretty quick, though. Let me look that up real quick. Missouri State Fair. I think it's held in Sedalia, Missouri, isn't it? Where is it? Missouri. Okay, that's not helping me. Oh, I can't find it right now. I'll look at it later. I don't know if I'll make it or not. Who knows? Paula, good to see you. Says got here in time to say hi. And how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. It's in Sedalia. I thought it was. That's a little ways away. I don't know if I'll make it to that or not. Probably not. But who knows? We'll see. Anyway, I'm doing well. Quarantine ends tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day of quarantine. I am free and clear. All right. Bad News Monk says, I'm not sure it was purple. Oh, it was just purple. Okay. It would be cool to see if it keeps laying that color. No, that doesn't sound like a celadon egg. That just sounds like sometimes you get those kind of purple eggs. It's nothing to worry about. You're probably not going to get them all the time, though. Probably not all that often, actually. All right. I got to wrap this one up, guys. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I'd love to keep going, but it is getting late. I got to have some dinner. Got to hang out with my wife for a little while. Want to, actually, don't have to. And go to bed so I can get up again in the morning. So anyway, thanks for joining. We will hopefully see you guys again next week. And as always, God bless. Take care. Bye.